All right, folks, welcome back to Prepper Now, the PM edition. It's funny, a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, not that much going on. Like 20-minute broadcasts, things you talk about what's going on in Eastern Europe and a little bit about the Middle East, but nothing crazy, kind of getting more into the financial stuff. Holy Lord, we are in a new way. So I can tell when I do these broadcasts, it'll tell me, when I put it onto Substack, post is too long for email. Every single one is too long for email because it'll put it in the email and the person can just read it from there. There's so much going on that it's too long. So it'll give like a link and you get to the link and all that, but it's crazy. And this one is entitled Highly Unusual. There are some really not good developments, folks. We are not trending in a good way. It's funny. Right before I went on and I did Prepper Now, and El Mono, sorry about you not getting the notification, my man. You will not. They do not give any kind of notifications for Prepper Now. There's no algorithm. You basically come and you watch me and I do my thing, and then the video sits there if someone stumbles upon my page because I'm basically hated by YouTube. So this thing, when I went in and did Prepper Now, I thought maybe it's kind of quiet. I was like, oh, maybe things are chilling out. Maybe I don't want war. I don't want it. This is great for the channel, but I don't want it. So, I'm sitting there watching everything. I'm like, well, maybe things are calming down. It's really quiet. There hasn't been a barrage and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, go back to start checking stuff. And good Lord, not good, not good whatsoever. So, we're going to tell you all about it, but I can tell you this, there's some highly unusual movements going on and not of the good kind. So, please remember in the back of your mind, Israel's a nuclear power. So just think about that. If it gets bad enough, we've talked about this on this channel before. There's this thing called the Samson option, where he brings the temple down. If it gets bad enough in Israel, they will freaking just blow up everything. I don't care. That's the Samson option. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I don't think I'm not worried about it, but like, what I can say now that I'm seeing is that the first 36 hours, and I kind of started to get this theory after watching things, because you can see, you got all kinds of videos out there of these missiles coming in and the way the THAADs are working and the David Sling and all that. I haven't seen any CRAM or anything, but you can see where the air defenses work. We've seen a lot of videos of the exo-atmospheric interceptions by the THAAD. The problem is, though, we only produce so much, and there's only so much from. So what Iran has seemingly done, and I didn't think about this at first, but I started to get this idea about a day ago. They sent in their BS, kind of like what Russia did. Russia started, by getting rid of all their old military crap from the Soviet era. They went in and they used up all their BS. Iran is doing the same thing. They're using their BS the first 36 hours to take out and to use up the air defense systems. Now they're using their hypersonics. And these things are noticeably different. First day you see, the missile goes up and it's moving along and you can follow it. Now we're seeing videos where a person is, first of all, stupid to be in their high rise, but they're sitting there because this is new to them. And they're watching, they're looking at all these other missiles going around. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this thing will come striking down at literally uh, Mach speed and blow up a building across the way. And it is out of nowhere, and there is no getting out of its way. There's no time. From clouds to sitting to striking the ground, you're talking about a half a second. This is changing the game. So things are going to get worse, in my opinion. They really are. Okay. So let's get going. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Hudson Valley, good to see you. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Okay. But yeah, for all the nothing ever happens people out there, you're here. Things are happening. Okay. It's happening. So let's go through it and we'll discuss. There's a good amount here. So I'm going to move pretty quickly. Try not to do too much analysis, but there's a lot going on and it's trending in a bad way. Okay. Here's your crisis report. June 15th, 2025 p.m. Highly unusual. You'll notice at the top of this report, you can get it. https://preppernow.substack.com. And everything you need is right there. At the very top, there's a secret channel I have. It is for in case I ever get taken out. This happens all the time on this platform. So I've got some redundancy. So please join me over there if you have not. I only post every once in a while. I am going to start to get more into it. I was planning on posting more, but there's been so much going on with the war. I just kind of been riding it here. But thankfully, we're home from Europe. I called that one. I said, man, I better go see Europe before something goes wrong. Literally landing and Israel versus Iran. This is just crazy. So here we go. Soldiers of the Home Front Command Search Rescue Brigade continue to operate at the site of an Iranian ballistic missile impact in Bat Yam. Military says the strike killed 4 people, wounded over 100. Currently, some 20 people are believed to be missing. This is becoming more of a tale in Israel now. This is very different than 36 hours ago. Only 3 commanders of the Iranian High Command are left in the Ayatollah. Units under the Indo-Pac Command have also been instructed to evaluate and strengthen off-installation security immediately. Concerns of other periphery things going on. Jiner, how you doing? Mossad watched as Iran rolled out missiles, then hit them before they could be launched, according to Wall Street Journal. Hegseth and Rubio both shared Trump's threat to Iran on their X accounts. Ayatollah is a target. This change has been made after last night's attack on civilian infrastructure by Iran, which was ordered by the Ayatollah himself. Houthis issued a statement announcing a coordinated missile attack, Iranian military and IRGC operations against Israel. Houthis claimed they used hypersonic missiles against sensitive Israeli sites in the Jaffa area. British fighter jet operating over the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, made an emergency landing at the Thiruvananthapuram airport in Kerala, India. Basically, the thing kept approaching. The seas were too much. Couldn't land it there, so it was running out of fuel, so it went to that Indian airport. Chinese cargo plane noted headed towards Iran. Iranian missile boosters recovered from the Jordan Valley. Iran International has obtained information that a high-ranking Russian official has contacted several top Iranian officials offering a safe route out of the country. IDF issues an evacuation warning for Iranian civilians. All individuals currently present or expected to be present in or around military weapons manufacturing facilities and their supporting institutions must immediately evacuate the areas and not return until further notice. Unusual movement is being detected at Tehran's government buildings, according to monitors. Israel issues an advisory for Iranian civilians to evacuate areas immediately near the nuclear reactors. Iran has turned to Qatar and Oman to mediate with the United States in an attempt to halt the Israeli attack and resume negotiations. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is also working behind the scenes to help end the fighting. Gulf states' concern is that events will get out of control and affect them as well. Second warning issued through the Israeli media. Iranian residents near nuclear reactors urged to leave immediately. Multiple Iranian oil and gas fields ablaze in Ahvaz, southern Iran. What I can now say with confidence, this is Aquila, Israel is planning something very big in Iran, which could shake the geopolitical of the region for years to come. I think he's basically nudging us towards the belief that a nuke is going to be used. Iran, on the other hand, is also planning something very big, and it could actually be testing a nuke. I think nuclear weapons, I think it's becoming much more possible that you could see a nuclear weapon used. Security alert in Iraq has been issued by the State Department citing possibility of terrorist attacks or violence against U.S. businesses and locations frequented by U.S. citizens. All educational exams in Iran have been canceled indefinitely, Iran's educational department says. Netanyahu says that a regime change in Iran is possible as a result of the Israeli strikes targeting the country's leadership. Syrian army is deploying to the Iraqi border after suspected movement of Iranian-backed fighters from Iraq. Let me make it clear now, Iran has only two options left, and this is actually provided to be more true as things go on. One, break away from the nuclear proliferation treaty and test a nuclear weapon, or two, face regime change. It's clear by today's strikes the Iranian regime is over. They have been penetrated at the highest level. Even the supreme leader is under threat. The Iranian regime is now fighting for its existence. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I also don't think it's quite as dire as that right there. That was about 24 hours. It was earlier in the day. These are earlier posts, and I think things have changed a little bit since. The calculus is changing, as they say. Excuse me. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Iran targeted his bedroom window with a missile but failed its mark. Iranian hour of freedom is near, Netanyahu. New wave of Israeli airstrikes in western Iran. Pizza deliveries are spiking. And that's actual, and you can go here. This is why you join the crisis report. This is an actual page called Pen Pizza Report, Pen for Pentagon. When things go off, they will tweet about it. So it's a great indicator, and it does say the truth. If there's a lot of pizza going to the Pentagon, problems are about to start. New updates from my sources deployed in the Middle East. U.S. is preparing for something major with assets being moved to various locations, and there are major movements you're going to see. U.S. officials think the Iranian regime is on the brink of collapse. Axis of resistance is in disarray after IRGC commanders have been killed. Israel will be carrying out some major strikes in the coming next few days. U.S. and European countries are preparing for Iran to leave the nuclear proliferation treaty, and extensive monitoring is going on for signs of an Iranian nuclear test. Iraqi military has reportedly moved its 96K6 Panzer S-1 anti-aircraft missile and artillery systems to the Iran-Iraq border. U.S. Air Force High-Frequency Global Communications, also known as the HFGCS, been highly active past 48 hours. Iranian media agencies now say that countries, namely America, Britain, Italy, Germany, India, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Morocco, well, they're all helping Israel in defense and offensive operation against Iran. Israel has formally requested U.S. military intervention to strike at the Iranian Fordo nuclear site, according to KANN. Israel's air defenses overwhelmed once again, confirmation of hits in Haifa. That is becoming more of a story. The air defenses are getting tired. and Iran is clipping off more and more and more. So we're getting more of a street brawl now. Started out as nice boxings and land a couple blows, couple jabs. Now, like, they're going into the dumpsters and they're getting out the broken bottles. It's bad things are coming. Impacts in Tel Aviv. Sirens going off. U.S. consulate, Erbil, Iraq. One missile reportedly hit a residential building in northern Israel. Paramedics rushing to the scene. Looks like a building has collapsed in Haifa. Impacts now recorded in southern Israel. Looks like Israel was caught unaware of today's missile attack. Very less time to intercept the missiles, or some new kind of missiles are being used, and I think it's the third one. I think they're starting to use the Chinese and Russian tech. They were kind of showing up at BS, and now they're like, okay, this is a serious fight. And now the Fatima and the others are coming, and they're putting in the bigger, more hypersonic missiles. 2 residential buildings hit in Haifa. Pro-Iranian militants are calling for storming the U.S. Embassy. Green Zone, Baghdad, Iraq. Iraqi police and military trying to secure the Green Zone entrances. Unconfirmed reports of a fire at Ben Gurion Airport following impact from Iranian missiles. 4.3 magnitude earthquake hit Iran's Baluchistan province, bordering Pakistan. Folks, sometimes magnitude 2 to 4 earthquakes in their magnitude are not earthquakes. Sometimes they're underground detonations. I'm saying this again, there's a massive movement of U.S. equipment underway in the Middle East. We're going to confirm that in a moment. Iran may be forced to take actions that could destabilize the entire region. Mohsen Rezai, IRGC general, commanded Iranian forces. Iran-Iraq war, told state TV. Once again, seen wearing his military uniform, he warned that Iran might have to cross its own red lines. He said the war could continue for weeks and urged citizens to inspect their rooftops for possible Israeli micro-aerial vehicles. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was moved to an underground bunker in Lavazan, northeastern Tehran, hours after Israel began its attacks on Tehran on Friday. Israeli citizens waiting for emergency update in metro stations across the country for fear of being targeted by Iranian missiles. Ministers in the UK are preparing for a scenario in which a hostile foreign power could use solar geoengineering approaches to orchestrate an environmental disaster. Looks like someone's been reading the plot line of the movie Geostorm. Gerard Butler, where are you? A batch of drones was discovered in a truck with a launch system in the Tahid tunnel in Tehran earlier. Several Iranian media outlets reported that this is how today's attacks in Tehran were carried out. Earlier today, there were 5 car bombs or some form of attacks that happened and took out scientists. Now, and I've got a post on this, and we'll cover it, Iran is getting privy to the fact that let's just say the call is coming from inside the house. Yesterday was the largest single-day protest in American history, according to Spencer Hackerman. Even when you correct for population, No Kings was still the biggest. Nearly 2% of the adult U.S. population turned out to protest. Well, hell yeah, for getting paid. Mobilized anti-Trump resistance is exceeding 2017 levels based on hundreds of crowdsourced records of No Kings Day events turnout and extrapolating for the cities where we don't have data yet. It looks like roughly 4 to 6 million people protested Trump across the U.S. yesterday. We covered that over on Prepper Now. We did a bit of a post-op. Things are getting kind of crazy, so watch your six when you're outside in the world. IDF says it has completed an extensive wave of airstrikes in Iran aimed at destroying weapons manufacturing capabilities. The strikes targeted infrastructure belonging to the IRGC, the Guards Quds Force, and Iran's armed forces, the IDF says. Numerous weapons production sites across Iran were targeted, according to the military. Rand Paul says he didn't like Trump's parade because it reminded him of Soviet parades from his childhood and was a waste of money and glorified weapons of war. Lindsey Graham says if diplomacy with Iran fails, he'll urge Trump to go all in, give Israel any bombs they need, and fly with them if necessary. Israeli officials say they are now engaged in a fight for their very existence, and this is where things started to change, and it looks like there's more of a prolonged battle coming. This is a full-on war, folks. I think we're beyond the diplomacy. I think that's gone. I think both sides are going to go for it. Iran's deputy foreign minister, Saeed Khatibzadeh, accused Israel of intentionally striking a foreign ministry building in Tehran, calling the attack ruthless and saying it injured several civilians. Aircraft carrier USS Nimitz CVN 68 and its strike group are currently en route to the Middle East. They will join the USS Carl Vinson and the British Royal Navy's HMS Prince of Wales, bringing the total to 3 carriers deployed to the region. 3 Iranian missiles hit Israel this time, one in the south, one in the Haifa and Bet Shemesh area. Iran's Tasnim claims that Iran has struck a plant belonging to the Israeli arms company Rafael. U.S. Marines and protesters have been facing off in L.A. Senior Iranian official Mohsen Rezai says we are seeking to form an Islamic army with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and several other countries. Think about that. Senior Iranian official Mohsen Rezi says we should move towards the atomic bomb, but according to the Supreme Leader's fatwa, we do not currently intend to build nuclear weapons. Israel has asked other countries to help intercept Iranian drones and ballistic missiles. British are helping, the French are hesitant because there's too many. They're getting overwhelmed. Israel has never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, meaning no obligations, no inspections, and no official acknowledgement of its nuclear arsenal. And trust me, it has one. Iran, on the other hand, is a signatory. Nuclear program is under IAEA inspection, claims peaceful use, and yet it is targeted with accusation of violating the NPT by a country not even bound by it. Highlights a deep flaw in the international system. The NPT basics are this: signed by 191 countries, only 5 recognized as nuclear weapon states. Those are USA, Russia, China, UK, and France. The rest, including Iran, Turkey, Germany, Japan, Brazil, South Korea, pledged not to pursue nuclear weapons. 4 countries are not part of the NPT. That is Israel, India, Pakistan, and North Korea, but they withdrew after joining. All 4 possess nuclear weapons. Yes, only Iran faces military threats for its nuclear program, reveals the structural injustice in global nuclear governance where rules don't apply equally, according to this person. So, like we say, folks, we cover all sides here. It's a very interesting thing to think about. And that's why you come to the crisis report. Where else are you going to get that kind of information, right? You want to be smart. You want to be the smartest person in the room. You're sitting there, you're talking to someone, you're talking about the whole thing going on, and you start dropping knowledge on the NPT. You're naming the signatories. You're naming who's in, who's out, what it means, what it does, how many countries, all that. A wealth of knowledge from the crisis report, baby. All right, I'll stop kissing my ass. Senior Iranian official Javad Larijani: if our oil facilities are seriously damaged, we won't let any country in the region use its oil. Now, what he is referencing there is basically, I think, the Strait of Hormuz and shutting it down. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Macron, France, did not participate in any of the actions carried out by Israel. Senior Iranian official Mohsen Rezi, Pakistan, told the Iran, if Israel drops a nuclear bomb in Tehran, we will drop a nuclear bomb on them. Pakistan has denied these claims. A lot of channels were saying this. Someone posted this on some BS site in some BS area. I do my best to vet stuff. If I see something is incorrect, I correct it in real time. I came back and put this here. Pakistan denied this. This is not a true statement. Anybody saying this is getting duped. Pakistan never said that if Israel drops a nuclear bomb in Tehran, we will drop a nuclear bomb on them. They never said that. Iranian foreign minister says we will prepare the ground for a return to diplomacy and negotiations if the aggression stops. Iranian Ministry of Health says 224 dead, 65 hours after Israeli aggression. That's going to go up. Iran's police force commander, Sardar Radan, allegedly taken out by Israel. That guy is a bad dude. He has been around since the 1980s, and he's the one that's been basically hanging people from construction sites, if you will, as they like to do there in Iran. He is the moral police and all that, so he was not a good guy. Renewed Israeli strikes in Iran. Reports of strikes in Tehran, Kermanshah, Saqqez, and Tabriz. Iran's air defense system shot down several Israeli drones in the northern Caspian Sea port of Anzali. Israel allegedly carried out an attack on Iran's Fordo nuclear facility. They need America to do it. They're not going to reach deep down. That place is embedded because they knew that this day was coming. So, despite Iranian state-run media continuing to claim that Iran is escalating and increasing the size of its attacks against Israel, the truth is much different. Tonight's ballistic missile attack being one of the smallest since Israel began its strike campaign against Iran on Friday. Tonight, roughly 30 ballistic missiles were launched at Israel, with only 3 impacts being reported, as opposed to the first night when Iran launched 175 to 200 missiles, last night when they launched 75 to 100. However, don't let these numbers fool you. Iran is not running out of missiles, but it does suggest they may be running out of launchers for these medium to intermediate range ballistic missiles that are actually able to reach Israel. It is also likely suggested severe issues in command and control caused by the large number of senior military officials, especially the entire top chain of command for the IRGC aerospace forces that have been eliminated so far by Israel. All of NATO is involved in attacks against Iran, according to Rybar. 2 weeks ago, Rybar, Russian media outlet, warned of unusual NATO intel near Iran. Now it's clear. It was prep for Israel's strikes. AWACS flights, drones, satellite sweeps. NATO mapped Iran's defenses. Everything played out as predicted. Earlier, bazaars across Tehran, the backbone of Iranian middle class, seen being emptied out as IAF airstrikes rained down on the Iranian capital. Channel 14, Netanyahu's mouthpiece, reports Israel is preparing the Dakhya Doctrine for Iran, large-scale destruction of civilian infrastructure as it happened in Lebanon. Over the past minutes, Iranian air defenses have been activated in Isfahan, Sanandaj, Tabriz, Kermanshah, Al-Vaz, Bandar Anzali. Local media reports. Some Iranian media outlets also reported hearing explosions in Eslamashar in Valan near Tehran. State-run IRNA news agency reported a massive explosion in the Shahrir region west of Tehran. Iran says it found a Mossad drone workshop in Tehran. Highly likely Iran preparing another missile strike on Israel. Israel's Home Front Command stated citizens must stay near a protected area. Iran's Mehr reports Israeli attack on Parchin was foiled. There have been allegations since 2004 of explosives testing for nuclear devices in Parchin. Senator Ted Cruz calls for regime change in Iran, saying Tehran crossed Trump's red line, claims talks were just a pretext for strikes, warning the U.S. and Israel couldn't wait for a mushroom cloud over Tel Aviv or New York City. Trump says he hopes there will be a deal between Iran and Israel, but sometimes you have to fight it out. Trump says the U.S. will continue to support Israel in its defense. Switzerland's embassy, this is a bad sign. Tehran, traditionally serving U.S. diplomatic channel, has suspended operations due to security concerns. UK has named its first female MI6 chief. Blaise Matrewelli has been appointed as the first female chief of MI6, UK Secret Intelligence Service. Matrewelli, a career spy since 1999, currently leads MI6 Tech and Innovation Division, also known as Q. Tehran Metro planned shelter is closed. Despite government claims it would stay open 24/7, the metro was shut. 2.5 magnitude earthquake recorded near Iran's Fordo nuclear site. Fiddly D. I wonder what that could be. Jewish hedge fund, billionaire, insider trader, and former DEI patron turned Trump supporter Bill Ackman on American troops to fight for Israel against Iran. U.S. Embassy in Israel announces it will be closed on Monday. Reporters of attacks in Mashhad, northeastern Iran. Minnesota officials say they are still withholding the manifesto of Vance Belter, the man behind the Minnesota attack. Sorry, there we go. Photo from another targeted killing in Iran. Appears to be an Israeli spike missile strike on a house. Iran's foreign ministry announces that Iran will no longer share information or cooperate with the IAEA. That's a big one. That's a big one. Urgent update on warnings in Israel. Homefront commander says we cannot declare the danger over. It is preferable to sleep in shelters tonight. Thousands of Israelis flee to shelters fearing renewed Iranian missile strikes on Haifa and Tel Aviv. Interesting explanation about the situation inside Iran by the Iranian journalist Kayal Muazzin. He said he received good news and decided to share it with people. Now, this is good news to the Iranians. This is a very long post, okay? I'm not going to go through all of it, but I will start. It says, the destruction in Tehran and Isfahan is a result of these hidden workshops. So he's saying that there's hidden workshops all over, and there's been a lot of things to back that up. According to the latest data, 90% of the impact points and destruction are not related to external invasion, but to operations organized from the country's own territory. Israel was able to penetrate deeply using its intelligence channels and support inside. But now the exposure and cleaning phase has begun. With the capture of sabotage groups and the closure of production facilities, the level of danger will decrease sharply, and attacks inside Iran will increase by at least 80%. So he goes on from there. Find another good paragraph to read. Get this one. All right. So the main goal is to eliminate internal workshops in order to completely paralyze the attacks. Once this stage is over, Israel will be left without its main trump card, and then it'll be Iran's turn to speak in a language that the enemy actually understands. Israel is afraid of an open confrontation, and we can already see how it is using all of its resources. So the intruder is inside the house. He's making phone calls, but now the heroine is starting to fight back, if you will, for your horror movie fans. Basically, they figured out where the stuff is coming from, and now a bit of a game change. NATO AWACS surveillance aircraft has taken off from Turkey, now monitoring airspace over Iran, Syria, and Iraq, most likely selecting targets for the Israeli aviation. Iranian missiles struck directly Haifa power plant. Fires are reported. Extensive damage in Tel Aviv following Iranian missile strikes. And now 24 U.S. military tanker aircraft are airborne. This is very, very, very much unusual. Now, the United States' Air Force operates approximately 606 tanker aircraft, making it the largest aerial refueling fleet in the world by a wide margin. Iranian missile strikes the Gezer gas power plant in Israel. Not good. Tehrani Moghadam ballistic missile facility in Tehran is currently being targeted by Israeli Air Force. IDF Homefront issues new directives as ballistic missiles launchers were detected in Iran. Homefront Command has now instructed residents throughout the country to continue to remain in close proximity to the protected areas. Movement in the area should be reduced and large gatherings should be avoided. Upon receiving the warning, one should enter the protected area and remain there until further notice. Some netizens are theorizing that Brazil, under orders from President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, may have sold uranium to Iran. This is very bad, sparking discomfort and internal criticism within the diplomatic sectors of both the U.S. and Israel, and putting the Latin American country's neutral stance at risk. We're going to move on from that one. We will be probably revisiting. I'm going to come back and read that. IRGC missiles were also launched from the city of Arak, Markazi province, Iran. Search and rescue operations are ongoing at Iranian missile impact site in a residential structure in Bnei Barak, just to the east of Tel Aviv. Bnei Barak is an ultra-Orthodox, anti-Zionist Jewish area in Tel Aviv. Benjamin Netanyahu denies that Trump blocked an Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. So that whole story was BS. Suspect in the shooting of Minnesota lawmakers has been arrested. Vance Belter, Boelter, has been arrested. About 30 missiles were launched with at least 9 confirmed hits. Israeli air defenses are getting significantly weakened. Iran's waves don't have to be big anymore to do significant damage. About 90 missiles were launched to Israel in the last barrage, and the Bazah chemical refinery complex in Haifa, Israel's largest oil refinery, capacity of 200,000 barrels per day, struck during the recent missile strikes. Facility supplies fuel and petrochemicals products to Europe, as well as for Israel's transportation, military, and industrial sectors, making it a key component of the country's energy infrastructure. And that, my friends, is your crisis report. Long and strong, baby. Long and strong. We're tired, to be honest with you. A lot going on, but we're trying to keep up, and I think we're doing an okay job. Hit the like button, do the subscribe thing if you're new here, darken up the bell, get the notification, which you probably won't. Come on back for more. Join me on Substack, join me on Twitter and X and Minds and Gab and Truth. Join me on Locals and Subscribestar. Join me here as a member. Just join me. Good to have all you guys. Getting freaky out there, folks. So please keep watching your six, prepping and doing all the things, okay? All right, friends, we'll be back tomorrow and we'll see you on the next one.